For whatever reason, one day I decided that I just wanted to make some jewelry. But if you know anything about me, you will know that I am a very impatient person. I wasn't in the mood to wait and buy some wire from a store when I just wanted to start the project immediately. So I rummaged around and eventually found a couple of notebooks that I wanted to recycle earlier. I wanted to keep the cover off of one of them to use for my art journal spread because I found it really pretty, and of course I'm all about reusing and utilizing my resources. But I did take the wire off and I decided to make a bracelet out of notebook wire. Obviously though, I am very much beginner. This is the first time I've ever tried to attempt making any kind of jewelry. So this isn't a tutorial in any way, but I do think that this was a really fun project to do, especially if you're someone that really loves jewelry and you just want to make it for a very low cost. I spent no money trying to make this, and I didn't even have the correct pliers. I just used regular standard pliers that I had at home. So this project is very much possible even if you don't have necessarily jewelry making supplies. Now, if you were paying attention in the beginning of the video, I'm sure you noticed me picking out some beads. Those were downstairs in my basement, so I've had those for the longest time, and I decided to use them rather than to go out of my way and spend money on some more. So if you do want to buy some beads to customize your bracelet, go on ahead, but if you don't want to buy any and spend any more money, that's also perfectly fine too. Honestly, the only reason why I added beads was just because I had them downstairs and I haven't used them in years, so I figured this would be a really good use out of them. Plus, you know, I just wanted to add some color and make it a little more pretty than just a plain chain around my wrist. This video is going to be a little chaotic, just because I wanted to make a little fun video and not necessarily a tutorial in any way. So I'm sorry if this may be a little confusing, all over the place, just whatever. But I do hope you enjoyed this video. The nice thing about this project too was that I actually had a lot more notebook wire left over than I thought that I would. Now obviously I just made a bracelet, so I'm sure it didn't use a lot of wire anyway, but it's just nice I'll have a lot of wire left over for future projects. This project is definitely a lot harder than I expected. Obviously I knew that it was going to be a little bit difficult just because I've never done this before, and like when you look at jewelry it obviously looks very complicated, but I was expecting for the notebook wire to not be as strong just because it's notebook wire, but it actually is holding up pretty good. So yeah. The footage that you saw at the very beginning of the video, I'm just going to consider that like a trial run, and after this is a more correct way to make this jewelry. I was just kind of messing around and trying to figure out what would be the best way to make this bracelet. But yeah, back onto the video. Oh yeah, quick side note, but the pliers that I'm using are just like standard pliers. My mom told me that she had like pliers that were specifically made for jewelry making, that they were downstairs, but when I looked in the place that she told me where they were, I did not see them at all. So that's probably why it's so difficult right now, but I'll let you know once I switch to the correct pliers. The first thing I did was measure out 2 centimeters of wire at the end. Then I bent it so that it curved a bit and would bend it until the end was rounded. Using the excess end of the wire, I twisted it around 2 or 3 times and then cut it with my pliers. Also, side note, but I apologize if I do a terrible job at explaining my process. Like I said, this isn't a tutorial by any means, so I just did the best that I could explaining my general process of making this upcycled bracelet. When creating the first link, you do not have to worry about this, but since I already made the first link to the chain prior to me actually explaining the process, I will do my best to demonstrate what to do. When attaching an additional link to the chain, make sure that the chain is attached to the end of the new loop before you close the loop. Listening to what I just said, I know I did such a bad job of explaining that, but hopefully from what you can see in this video, my demonstration helped. After attaching the chain to the loop of the new link, you are going to cut off the link. When cutting off the link, make sure that the tail of the link is 2 centimeters as well, not including the loop that you've just created. Now, on another note, for a little over a week now, I've been thinking about a couple of things. While making this video, I found that I enjoyed making jewelry a lot more than I expected to. I think that this is a hobby that I will definitely come to enjoy, and I do want to share the process videos of how I make my jewelry. As much of mixed content that I do have on my channel though, I just worry that if I post too many jewelry videos, it will start to be straying a little too far from art itself that people may like. Now, while I believe that jewelry making is a kind of art form, I think that all of you guys can agree with me when I say that most people think of paintings and drawings when you hear the word art. So I just worry that if I post too many jewelry videos, you guys will not enjoy that content as much. I've considered opening up a second channel, one solely focused on art, and other focused on how to make jewelry. If I were to open this second channel, I still would post on this art channel primarily and maybe post on the jewelry channel once or twice a month. The only con to this is that I'm worried that I may not be able to manage two channels in the long run, and I'll end up forgetting about one over time. Let me know your thoughts on what you think I should do in the comments. After you've created a tail, attach a bead of your choice onto the tail. Then create another loop at the end of the tail so that you will be able to attach an additional link. And basically that's all you have to do for the chain. Now onto another topic. My enjoyment for jewelry making has made me consider another thing. I was wondering if you guys would be interested if I opened up an online jewelry business. How it would work is that I would only make so much at a time and then close for restocking when needed so I would have time to make more of my product. Obviously, I'd probably only make 10 or so products at a time when I initially open up because I do not know how many people would actually buy from me. If the business does become successful, I will start increasing the amount of product I make for each restock. Anyway, let me know if you guys would be interested in buying jewelry from me. And now before you finish off your bracelet, you're going to make two kind of links for the end of the chain. I wasn't really in the mood to buy some clasps because I just didn't want to spend the money. I wanted to make this as cost efficient as possible. I think I used that term right. But anyway, the first end of the bracelet, I made it the exact same way as I did with the other links, except I just did not add a bead. Now for the opposite end of the chain, this is kind of hard to explain, but essentially what I did was I bent the smallest loop on the very end of the wire, and then I put the pliers a little more farther down, and then I bent it the opposite direction. Then to tie it off, I just basically kind of clasped it on how I did with the rest of the chain. So I just basically looped it and pulled it through and then twisted the end and cut it, if that makes any sense at all. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to try and post whenever I find the time, but honestly, it's probably not going to be as frequent as it used to be. But regardless, I hope you guys still kind of stay and maybe enjoy the content I'm pushing out. I feel like lately the content has been a little dry, but if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next video.